Hello, world. And we're back. I almost forgot the microphone. uh, my name is Ryan, aka Crownson's Corner, Crownson, whatever, aka The Healing Chef. This is The Healing Chef's podcast. Healing Chef's podcast is all about natural healing remedies. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. And also mental health and, making each other not feel so alone. Chef comes from the word chief meaning leader. Everybody that I have on here, I believe, is a leader in their own right. So today's chef, well, I don't even need to do that today because you'd be cooking. But is Kirsten of PUFFNPROP. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirsten.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I really appreciate it. I do know that you're in Spain right now. It's nighttime, so this is a little bit different, but we're worldwide. Worldwide. But if you could explain a little bit about what it is that you do now, I mean, kind of like the Instagram and all the other stuff, and then we'll get into your personal journey.
Right. Sounds fantastic. And I do love hearing everybody's introduction or experience why they joined the cannabis community or industry. And every story is completely unique. I saw a need when I discovered vaping. And because I wanted to be discreet and didn't want to smell like weed and didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, I saw that vaping was a gift. It was like choirs of angels. This is an answer to a prayer for me. And yet I saw that the functionality really only existed if you keep that vape upright so that the oil can flow down to the heating element. And I literally taught myself 3D design to solve that problem. Even back then, a half a gram of a cartridge was, between $50 and $80. And, things have changed, but nevertheless, I just want everybody who's listening to say, what is that feeling that you have when you're like, oh my God, where's my vape? Right. And is it in the wash? Is it in your pocket? Is it leaking and stuff like that? So I really saw that need. And then I saw that there are a lot of other accessories in the market that can use that upright position and just to prevent breaking and losing things. So I taught myself 3D design, and it's a world of pivoting and adjusting to meet the needs of the industry itself. And I said, hey, this is smart promo merch. It can be made very inexpensively and really leave a lasting impression to create that branding, identity, attention, and loyalty. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm in the startup phase. And I feel like, although I've had a lot of success getting some really big orders, I know that I'm still in that phase where people need to get to know about it and start to really understand its use. And I really think I'm on the edge of a big breakthrough. Fingers crossed.
Heck yeah. I'm happy to hear that. I love to see everyone doing something creative. Like, I love smoking weed, don't get me wrong. But I like to see what it brings afterwards after you smoke it. The creative brings something into the world too. So hell yeah. There's so many people that nowadays that wish they could just execute. So shout out to you. So that's hella dope. Yeah, I've had plenty of problems with the carts and all sorts of different things getting clogged and whatnot. But yeah, that's a great way to build a brand, loyalty, all that kind of stuff. But also it keeps their product working correctly. So that only builds more there too. So I like that.
Yeah, a lot of functionality. And although I stay on top of statistics, just in the US and Canada in 2024, 216 million vapes were sold between all-in-ones and cartridges. And when you really get to the people who are into the culture and the community, they are, I would say, predominantly like, hey, I smoke joints, I smoke bongs and things like that. So as my experience out there with the community, in different neighborhoods and things like that, I realized, hey, I love vaping. That's my jam, but don't leave this community out. And I also designed what is the grip and clip I'll hold it up to the camera. See that little convex tube holds a pre-roll perfectly, and then you can totally clip it onto the edge of your hat like
Ah,
that. And people really love that because it also ties into their ability to show off what they're doing.
oh yeah,
You know,
yeah,
people like to have a hat or a brand that people recognize that is cannabis connected. So that was just another expansion of my ability, and it's such a great price point. And
yeah.
again, when you are an inventor, you have a great idea, but it has to be appealing in so many ways. So I felt like I just expanded my audience for this promotional merchandise, and they have turned out to be really popular. So now I'm hitting those two targets.
Yeah, I think we're gonna talk after this because I'm gonna start going to some of these networking things here in Arizona, and I'm gonna just start throwing stuff out. I've already talked to a shirt company, and I'm gonna talk to another one, but we're gonna figure that out. But there's also that I want some of that because I want to be able to go there and just start throwing things out to people.
You can put, 30 grip and clip in your pocket and
Yeah,
just hand them out.
right. And just like walk around and be like, "Hey, what's up?" and just clip it to their hat and just walk away. And then they
It
go, "What the
is,
hell is that?"
it's
And then
exactly, it is such an eye catcher. It's such a conversation starter. So I think that is one of those other appealing fun and functions that makes it popular.
hell yeah, awesome. Well, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the first segment, which is cannabis journey. All right. So, cannabis journey is all about how you found cannabis yourself and where you're at with it now. I mean, I myself started 13, and we had brickweed, and luckily, every once in a while we get kind bud, and so on and so forth, and we've gotten better and better. And let me excuse my rudeness and turn my phone to silent. um, but yeah, how did you find cannabis? Where are you at with it now? I
I
definitely use it
I
at
was
all sorts.
13 in 1978, and I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and I wanted to be included with my brothers and sisters. So if they were going to get high, I was going to get high too.
Nice.
And of course, you end up being on this lifelong pursuit of both getting it, when it can be dry, what we say, oh, it's dry, you can't find any,
Yeah.
or hiding it so that you don't get caught, trying to have that clear eye Visine stuff and stuff like
Mm.
that. So imagine me trying to covertly consume cannabis for literally decades. And then my niece, who had severe acute chronic illness and pain, had been noticing that she would get some relief from cannabis, but as the years went by, the THC went up and her anxiety went up.
Mm.
And then she was like, "Hey, I've been advocating for medical cannabis because then maybe I can get a wider variety." And she was there and told me about how in Illinois they had kind of accidentally passed a medical cannabis law. And so from that moment on, I realized that it was really sick people who had to carry the burden for everybody to have I call it safe
Mm.
access, meaning now you can have it and you're not really entirely risking going to jail. Although, they've got ways to like corner you and be like, oh, the smell, or it's not in the right package and all this stuff. But
Right.
so I thank my niece for doing that early advocacy. And when I realized that it was sick people who had gotten us here, I said, that's not right. I'm a capable person. I trained myself, went to Toastmasters, which is a public speaking club. And that's when I really developed an educational program and got invited to libraries and to medical facilities, managed care facilities, and was able to go out and actually provide education programs so that people could access our medical cannabis
Mm.
in Illinois. So that's a really, really big journey to just take on that idea of being like, yeah, I'm walking right out into the public and I'm saying, hey, do you want to learn are you curious about this cannabis program? And
Yeah.
I even think that because I broke that ice and got comfortable with it,
Uh-huh.
there were, like, let's say the C-suite, what we'll call the C-suite of the people growing the program, who they were not comfortable. You know what I'm saying? They hadn't gone out and said cannabis out loud to randos hundreds of
Right.
times. And so
Maybe
I
you
think
don't want
that,
too much attention, right?
yeah, and so they're like, oh God, what's Kirsten gonna say? Because obviously if I'll do things that nobody else is doing, it makes them apprehensive about, oh, I thought they would fund me. I thought that they would be like, oh, here, let's hire you and get you out there so that you can really be even more effective and find more people who want to do it. But it was so early on. Like I did my first public presentation at a library in 2015. It seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? So that kind of started my whole, I call it tip of the spear experience with the public and with the industry. So do you see how like I'm like, oh, hey, this is going to be such a valuable thing that the industry will pick me up and we'll be able to go on and forge ahead and really make these inroads because of the funny, the field of dreams philosophy of if you build it, they will come. And I was like,
Right.
I mean, I know you guys have got a lot on your mind, but I'm really concerned that you're not really facing the fact that even people who consume cannabis are have shame. They're
Yeah.
hiding their cannabis consumption, and even if it's for medical use, they don't want to register with the government. And in Illinois, people had to get fingerprinted to
Mm,
prove specifically that they were not convicted of a drug felony. And
crazy.
I know it's
I'm
such
from
a
Missouri
scary.
partially too, so
What's
I know
that?
that I'm partially from Missouri, so I definitely know that mindset of the Midwest.
Absolutely.
It's a
And
different take on cannabis than here in Arizona. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, 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 no. I appreciate you talking about Missouri because I really think that Illinois kind of went early for a Midwest, like Michigan was a little bit earlier on the medical, but it was a little bit more caregiver model. And Illinois was passed through the legislature, so it had that original thing going for it
Hmm.
or against it. And then Missouri was like, hey, you can grow your own. Everybody gets a license. So we have seen the Missouri market kind of make it look easy compared to what we've been through in Illinois. So the Illinois had the if you build it, they will come philosophy as opposed to really addressing making communities feel comfortable with it because you've won this license. You
Excuse me.
had to prove you obviously part of the oligarchy really to be able to afford to even participate in this program and
Yeah.
getting the license. But they weren't really paying attention to, oh, how are we going to engage the community? How are we going to get people to sign up for the medical program through the
No
uh,
education going on.
yeah, the bureaucratic process. So that was kind of where I was trying to find a way where there was no way. And I'm kind of curious. Like I did end up working as dispensary agent. I did help people, many hundreds of people submit their applications to the program. And you start to see, are you at all like, how you said with the fingerprinting, oh my God, I can't believe that. Like, is your experience with cannabis somewhat of a, none of this makes sense?
Um, no, I mean with it in Arizona, it was rolled out with the medical first. I've been in a bud tender or something within the industry since about 2017. And it this like kind of the stupidity of some of this stuff is the early laws and the testing, and then sometimes some of the access, and then all of a sudden in Arizona, then when it went recreational, um, the change from being able to have like fun things with like animated characters and stuff. See, like I like this stuff and everything. It's kind of my style. Um, like they had to take all that stuff off of the packaging. They had no more like fun like gummies or anything like that. And I mean, so that kind of stuff I think is absolutely stupid because they're like, you can't sell this to kids or advertise to kids, and then immediately I see on my phone they had an alcoholic version of Eggo waffle. Some I'm like, that doesn't. Even, I'm a chef. I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. Why are we making alcohol waffles? But but that's kids eat that every morning, and then what? I don't. I mean, you know,
Right. Right.
I
So
was
that
also
is
in the
really
army, so anytime the government does anything, I'm already like a bag of salt, not a grain of salt. Like I know it's all full of shit.
right. That's perfect. Okay, so
Yeah,
that made you conditioned
right.
to
I'm
be
like
able to just
to the
accept what they
stupidity,
say. What's that?
bureaucracy, red tape, the redundancies, the yeah.
Oh God. Okay. So you totally get it. You are calm about it, whereas I feel like I never adjusted to looking at things that don't make sense. So that's my own personal challenge. If I could just be like, oh well, that's just the way it is, and I'm
No,
always just
I
like, this
definitely
doesn't
am
make any
not
sense.
like that. I'm super kind of high right now, so I'm kind of chill. But like, I am very passionate, and I can get very reactive. But yeah, I have learned over the years of being in this industry that my reactiveness and like I want to say more activist side of myself, trying to save people from different companies or people and stuff like that, really just kind of gets looked at as like someone just screaming with a bullhorn all the time. They're just like they don't want to hear it.
And people get
Uh,
numb to it, right?
so I'm kind of numb to that. So I'm just like, yeah, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. But then I just find within any system, um, in the army or whatever I was ever in, I know how to work a system. So I just find the soft spots. I don't really talk too loud about it, but
Right. You find a way where there is no way.
yeah. And
And
then I
that's
just close my ears to anything else. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So
exactly. And we're all in the same boat. We're all, it doesn't, it does not bear repeating
yeah,
the infinite challenges that don't make any sense. And we are making progress, like let's just talk about how in Illinois I'm really impressed with their social scene, especially we live near Chicago, and there are multiple events every week, so you can imagine the dozens of events that we've had this week of 420. And so we feel
yeah,
like those brand ambassadors and those marketing teams have worked to find locations that are a little bit more cannabis positive and willing to give space
yeah,
and provide, let's say an outdoor consumption area with maybe a little bit of an overhang and maybe some heating lamps and things like that. So I feel like their early work there in adult use became accessible in 2020, January 1st, 2020. So you can see how long that people have been working on building relationships with the community.
hmm
And if they didn't do that building of the community even early on, they wouldn't have ever gotten um, the land zoned in a way that could let them even have a dispensary there. So it does go back to really making inroads in the community, really educating the city councils and things like that. And then you get business owners who are like, oh, this could really be an advantage for us to cross collaborate and do co-marketing together. So I am really proud of how big and strong and positive the community is for social events in cannabis, because I really think that it ends up sort of radiating out to people who aren't necessarily consumers or who do, and they're like, oh wow, so it's really not that big of a deal. These people aren't wasted like people get wasted on alcohol.
for
So
sure.
that's one major thing that's just such a big misconception, that people think it's worse than alcohol. And we consider it, I know that you and I consider it harm reduction, right?
For sure. Yeah. And yeah, like Chicago, you know the brand Arise?
One of my favorites.
So yeah, I know they're out of Illinois. I had them on the podcast a while ago. Ian and Jacob Ritter out here. I just saw Jacob Ritter. I really like their stuff. I think they're gonna start growing for the cookies out here. But also, I don't know if you guys have it, but I think like O'Fallon, Illinois, there's one. But Key Cannabis. I was just working for them. They're out here now too. So I really like seeing the different things going on. It's a little odd seeing the Midwest with weed coming out here. Like I'm just a little like, okay.
Right, like, how did we get so far ahead, right?
Yeah, like Arizona was first, and then Missouri's like, and they're just like, yeah. I think Missouri has sat back, and I mean, I haven't gone into it too much over there, but I think they've really done a good job, and they've like expanded so fast.
For
Like,
how conservative of a state they are.
yeah, absolutely, it's wild. They're everywhere.
Right, and okay, so the first thing you really have to do is say, okay, so California has like 34 million people. So
Yeah,
when you look at that as a market, it's its own country.
right,
And
for
what,
sure.
how does Arizona have 8 million people in the whole population? So probably something like that. So
Yeah,
see how like you have to take that into consideration and sort of do it as a percentage and be like, oh, okay, so if Missouri's already doing $1 billion, they are really, really rocking because Illinois has 12 million people. And I think maybe Missouri has maybe 6 million or something like that. So you have to say, oh, wow, especially considering they have so much lower of a population,
hmm
that it's really impressive that they have rolled that out so well. And you mentioned Arise, and I do remember, I think Arise only is in those two states, Arizona and Illinois.
yeah,
And what I found is that, they were early on. They did not come on later as like a brand moving in and sort of franchising under a different label. But Arise now is doing white labeling for other brands. And because
oh
they do
yeah,
just a really great job with their extractions, really good. And
Mhm.
yeah, we're really, really tickled. And they have their own brand that's called Days Off.
Yeah, days off.
Yeah, so I just really think that they kind of stayed humble, low profile, nose to the grindstone. And while all that was going on and they're just, producing some quality product, we have in Chicago the original MSOs. Now,
Yeah,
GTI may have been in Colorado, but they really got a massive start in Chicago with Ben Kovler, who was like of the Jim Beam dynasty. That's was
wow.
his sort of like where he got, the the gate to be able to pull
Yeah,
this off. Cresco started 100% in Chicago. Those are Chicago guys.
hmm
Verano started in Illinois, but it started out as Ataraxia, and
yeah.
they,
Verano's out here.
Verano's in Arizona. Cool.
Yeah, Zenleaf,
Mhm.
Verano. Yep,
Yeah, Savvy is one of their brands, and
yeah,
yeah. So it's really like when I first started and I saw who was getting the licenses, and I paid attention to the media, see if I could get names and find out who the people were. But the changing of hands of licenses and then having those licenses white label for brands that are coming from out of state in order to get a foothold and become multi-state operators like Cresco and GTI and Curaleaf, which started out in Chicago as well
we
as
have Curaleaf as well.
greenhouse. What's that?
We have Curaleaf as well.
Yeah, Curaleaf. Yeah, that's a big customer of mine. And I think when the big guys are on top and it is being treated like a game of Monopoly, where they just want to accumulate more and more properties so they
hmm
can end up on the top of the heap. They do take a lot of crap from the underdogs, that are trying to do social equity licenses. So Cureleaf has been a big supporter of mine and bought a lot of product for me, and I hope they will continue to.
Yeah,
So it is like how people follow sports and they follow players and it's like a soap opera where the trading of the teams and things like that. So I find that to be similar to watching the licenses being traded and
yeah.
sold, and even finding out that one of the original license winners in Illinois that's called PharmaCann. I'm trying to remember the name of their dispensaries now. Maybe, um, and they are what they call in receivership for not being able to pay their
Oh,
rent on the real estate that they have.
I think I
And
read that somewhere. I can't
yeah,
remember.
yeah. And also Forefront Ventures. which I believe owns Mission dispensaries in Illinois, and they went into receivership also. And this is another
I
one
mean,
of
their
these
name was Front on that's not gonna work. There's
forefront, the number four on the word front.
forefront.
I'm not in the branding
There's
and
no
marketing
future
game.
in your fronting. If you gave them work and they took your work.
Yeah, a lot of
That's
that
why
goes
you.
on. A lot of that.
That's the
Like
worst
let's
name.
yeah,
That's, oh my god! And they didn't have no real friends. That's
to
the
tell the
dumbest
truth,
shit.
yeah,
You're gonna call
absolutely,
this stuff
so
a
true.
front? You're gonna what? You're gonna front them the weed? Like,
Yeah.
out of here. Sorry.
And you know what? This is so funny that you're bringing that up because you are pointing out the chasm between the C-suite and the legacy people who are actually doing it, you know? And I
Right.
feel like that's a barrier for me because I'm living it. I'm like, vapes are everything to me. Let me make something that's going to be a complement to your products and help your consumers and build a relationship. I know that. I know it's needed. I know it's important. I know what it can do because I have worked with the patients, because I have worked with consumers,
Right.
and then because I am a consumer myself. So, yeah, when I just love that you brought that up. It just makes me so happy because I have seen so many branding mistakes where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And it's so expensive and sometimes you'll go, oh hey, let's like do a deal, and they're like, we can't, we're rebranding. And I think that got to be such a habit that if they
Yeah.
didn't want to give somebody an answer, they would just say, we can't, we're rebranding. It's just like a big blow off line. But
There's there's just so many companies. Like, I've gone to these networking things, and we're gonna jump into the next segment here in a second. But I've been to so many of these networking things, and I've seen so many different companies, especially the byproduct companies, being i.e. the pre-roll companies, the cart companies, and all that kind of stuff. And like they're there one day and then back and then gone another, or they come in with like some tech on like carts and stuff like that, and and then you see it pop up, and I don't know, there's just so many things that like come and go, but I mean,
right.
that's life as it is everywhere, so
Yeah. And
it's just.
if they get the funding, that's my thing. Is like I feel like I don't know like how you got raised up, but I came out of the cornfields of Illinois. I'm the youngest of seven and all this stuff where, it's not like we all met a bunch of rich people at college. That wasn't just a part of my life. I really for better or worse, was like, all you have to do is work hard and show up and prove that you're, a capable person, and that's going to open the doors for you. And
Mm.
now that I've been in cannabis, I'm like, maybe just a little bit, right?
No, no,
And
no,
like
no.
there are brands that will succeed because the investors probably just keep doubling down or building relationships and getting ins with other people.
Well,
But sometimes when I see a new gummy, I'm
mm,
just like, another gummy? How much money is it going to take you to really differentiate yourself and really get enough attention to be
right.
able to compete against all the other gummies that are already out there? And look, people do it. There's new gummy lines coming out all the time, and they really do get behind it and create a lot of social media marketing and things like that, which is really a mainstay of our industry. But dang, that's expensive. I don't know that they're going to see profits for another 10 years. And I even think
Oh,
that 10 years ago when I started, everybody thought, oh, federally it'll be legal in 10 years.
something. I know, as a chef, there's been so many times I've been a couple different investors. I've had different dispensaries or cannabis companies saying, I'm going to be the chef for them, or do this or do that. We're going to build a kitchen here. We're going to walk the building, all that kind of stuff. But then none of it really came out because you have to make so much money selling edibles or all that stuff. It's a losing battle, and if you don't have like a bunch of money to just throw at it until you can break it, then it's not gonna happen. But you
Right.
just got to promo the hell out of it. But um, yeah, it's crazy with all the marketing and whatnot. But um, I have a good time learning and watching. So I have some stuff planned. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into the next segment, which
Let's do
is
it.
Trip Tales. All right. So Trip Tales is all about psychedelic experience, news, questions, and stuff like that. Some people like to ask me about stuff because they don't trip as much, and I trip at least once a week. Um, it was yesterday was the 19th, so it was Bicycle Day. For those that don't know what Bicycle Day is, Bicycle Day is the day that, the man that created um, LSD, like a couple days before, I think maybe on the 13th or something like, or 16th, accidentally put some into his mouth as he was testing it, and then on the 19th, he actually ingested some and then went on a bike ride. And as he went on his bike ride, it started setting in more and more and more, and he started tripping and so on and so forth. So I had quite a bit of acid myself yesterday. It was a good time. It lasted hours and hours and hours and hours, but I did about 3 tabs, and it was a good time. I worked through some stuff, and I also had some fun. So, do you have any experience with psychedelics? People are now
I
doing the
actually do.
microdosing. Yeah,
I did acid in high school. It was a
fun.
giggle fest. I
I'm
was
telling you,
Yeah, I was very experimental. I was very much like, "What do you got? Let's do that. Let's find out what that's about."
for sure.
And I did
Excuse me.
mushrooms once about that time zone too. Um, and I felt like it wasn't that good of an experience because I didn't know what to expect and maybe wasn't around people who were like, "Hey, this is what makes it fun," right? And then about a year ago, it was someone's birthday party, and she was like, "This is going to be great. It'll really make my birthday if we do mushrooms together."
We all
And it
panicked.
was it was a massive giggle fest,
Well, that's great.
and
I'm glad
to
that.
the point where like the at least for a day afterward, I was like, my whole body is sore from just the constant laughing and stuff. So it's really only been in the last year where psychedelics have gotten so much more evolved and it's happening so fast. And people are like, oh, microdosing, that's the way to go. It's such a great mental health maintenance.
Yeah.
So I really feel like, thank God that that's going to be there. You know what I'm saying? I feel
Yeah.
like now it's another strategy that I can add to my basket so that
Mhm.
there's always something there for me to add to the other things that I would do for myself to keep my mental health squared away. And so, do you feel like that's what you're doing? Like you're actually treating yourself medically?
Exactly. So, that's exactly how I see it. Is I'm adding another tool to my toolbox. So I do therapy, talk therapy, all that kind of stuff, and we also do like different programs of therapy and that, and I have to take homework home and stuff like that. And but for yeah, with the psychedelics, sometimes like the therapy is not enough. Sometimes I think for a lot, I mean, a lot of times with myself with the PTSD, I'm still working on a lot. It was a little over 3 years ago. I had my like breakdown and everything. I'm doing it way better, but we're still working on a lot of different things. So yeah, I definitely trip quite a bit because that's part of my toolbox. When it's getting a little bit too much, or like my ego's too much, or I'm too worried about a certain thing or something, I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and trip because
Uh-huh.
let's go ahead and trip. Let's go ahead and trip because it's gonna bring out whatever that is, and we're gonna bring it up here, and we're gonna push it the fuck out, and we're done with it. Um, Otherwise, sometimes that subconscious, for in my experience, the subconscious will actually have you um, not working on any of that shit. And you won't even know that you're not working on it because you're just so used to burying these things and compartmentalizing, and I got to go do this and do this. And then it becomes back there. And then one day it's going to hit. But I, I'm, I make myself, thought vomit.
Where you unleash it and you're like, I
Yeah.
have to really turn toward these cyclical, obsessive thoughts
Yeah.
just to
Like,
like clean them out.
I don't know what kind of buffalo they are, but like the ones that like walk into the storm because they're the only animals that'll do that because they know that's the quickest way out. that's exactly what I do nowadays. I'm like,
I
"Oh,
love that.
okay. All right.
I'm
Well, that's."
so glad that I'm so glad that you're talking about this because each person's situation is unique. Like
Mhm.
we try to have diagnoses that kind of compartmentalize and identify what it is that you're struggling with, maybe.
Yeah.
But I hope that like whoever is helping you professionally also supports your own decisions because did you have to go through like, oh, I tried this medicine and then I was on 5 medicines and then I dropped it,
Mhm.
and I've talked to people who were like it took them 2 years or more where they had to drop down by the microgram in order to taper off, I think, Xanax, the benzodiazepines.
Oh, so they had me on, clonazepam, and, all sorts of stuff. So, I had to get off of that. Way before that, I was off of, like Zoloft, Cymbalta, all sorts of different, pills and whatnot. But none of that stuff ever worked because I really feel like a lot of that stuff is just remixed stuff that they just tried to get a patent on.
Mhm.
But from there, it's just I was doing like the cannabis and then like the talk therapy. And then get the psychedelics came along a little bit later as I found other stuff. Like the ketamine works the best, but if I just want to have a good time and kind of get some shit out, then that's the
The
acid.
trip.
But then if I really want some therapy though and deal with some shit and it's not gonna be as fun, that's the shrooming time. That's when I
Oh,
really work on shit
interesting.
for myself.
So you feel like the mushrooms, the psilocybin makes you do the work.
Yeah, so I feel like it's because that you eat something and your body's like knows that this is hurting you, kind of, sort of, with food poisoning. It kind of brings up a little bit more of the negative feelings because your body's like telling you this doesn't feel good, so that gets immediately translated to your brain, so you're kind of like not comfortable, and people know what I'm talking about when you start but like that whole peak and come up and stuff, sometimes it lasts a little longer for me, so I would like avoid things, but yeah, that's kind of how I use them. Yeah.
I love that. I'm glad that you, I'm going to call it escaped from the pharmaceutical cycle
Yeah.
because it seems like a trap. And it also seems like it's hard to get the medical community to be supportive of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to go through your therapist till you find the best one. And with
Right.
that, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next segment, which is mental health is wealth. All right. So, yeah, we're moving along. We took a little longer on the cannabis, but that's great. It's 420. Merry
Yep.
happy 420. Happy Easter. But so mental health is wealth is all about like talking about how we use all these different things. Cannabis, for myself when I wake up, help that anxiety, throughout the
Mhm.
day, and then like if I'm with working on my ego or working on any of that kind of stuff that talk therapy is helping with, go to the psychedelics. But I ask everyone that's on here, like, do you have like a coping mechanism or tool that you use, that maybe we can help other people listening throw another tool in their toolbox?
Okay. M- I'm I'm of a different generation, Sonny. Back in my day, we didn't have mental health. There was no
Yeah,
such thing, right?
right.
So now I've got kids who are in their 20s and they're like, "Hey, you didn't identify, diagnose, and treat my mental health." And I was like, "I don't even know what you're talking about, right?" But
Yeah.
I know that as a cannabis consumer, since I was 13, I was obviously treating myself and my anxiety.
Mm,
And I think that because I have so much, negative self-talk and trying to overcompensate and really accomplish a lot each and every day so that I can be valuable. So do you see what I'm saying? There's that whole self-esteem thing where you're constantly coping with not feeling like you're good enough. So I realized only after being a parent that cannabis helped me be a better parent, because it's always a struggle of like, are you doing this right? Are you doing this wrong? Are people going to judge you? And then when you get that quick hit of weed, you're like, hey, guess what? We're all just going to live, and we're going to love each other, and we're going to take these stressors out of the situation and realize that we can be happy and healthy. And that is a huge accomplishment. So even coming to terms with identifying the fact that I was coping with stress and anxiety and buried trauma from my past, it has been such a wonderful opening of the door for me to accept going to therapy and reading self-help and making sure I go for walks, because then you start to realize it really is a basket of strategies. And I just feel like cannabis is just the one that says, hey, everything is going to be okay.
Mhm.
Let's keep it simple. And then when you start to compare, because a lot of people will lean on alcohol because it's so much more socially acceptable to be like, oh, I'm a mom with my wine and that stuff. And
Right.
I just realized that alcohol is such a emotional dysregulator, that once you realize, oh, I'm consuming cannabis and I'm happier and more relaxed, and I'm giving myself permission to grow as a person and deal with my actual trauma from the past. So you have that. And then with alcohol, you have, oh, I feel like crap. I'm so depressed. Oh, I was having such a good time last night, and now it's taking me 2 or 3 days to kind of like restabilize again. So in a nutshell, it has been really, cannabis has been my gateway to mental health.
Oh shit. Gateway. Fuck.
Yeah.
Gateway drug. Gateway drug to better mental health.
Yes.
um. Yeah. I like to. What I like to do when I'm like really stressed out or something, you'll see like myself. I'll start to clean or something. And or like doing some sort of math or figuring something out, because I can control whatever that is. I can't control people or a situation or something like that. So if I get at least that task done, I'm like, okay, all right, well at least we got that done. That still may be a problem, but at least we got one step forward. All right, and then we're kind of calm. Okay, now I can look at this and not be so stressed out. And so on and so forth. And that's kind of what like ketamine has that taught me over the time, is that if I can find a way to remove the stress or my subjectiveness to the situation and look at it more objectively, then it's not that big of a problem. As soon as I tie my emotions to something, that's when the mental health comes in, and I can't really like separate. And that's what I'm working on most. But yeah, so the cannabis lets me slow down and be like, are we freaking out for no reason?
Yeah.
um, or is there something really there? So,
Yeah.
and nine times out of ten, we're freaking out for no reason. So we're like, oh, okay, I'm alive.
Mhm.
I'm breathing. We're good.
Thank you, cannabis.
Thank you, cannabis. Thank you, God, for bringing it. Thank, you know, thank whoever smoked every other plant
Right.
first before finding out that this worked. Sometimes I just sit there and think of these kind of things, stoner thoughts, like even like bread. How did they figure that out? Like, did they just have stuff and just go bad, and then like the bacteria turned into, I don't know. Uh, so
Your peanut butter got in my chocolate, and that's how
right,
they discovered Reese's peanut butter cups.
yeah, and your chocolate got into my peanut butter.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. I was just another high thought. um, but yeah, I love it. So we'll go ahead and jump into the last bit segment, which is plug talk, a little promo for
Nice.
you before we go, and then you can also do anything. Awesome. So, yeah, Plug Talk's all about promo. This is your time to shout out whoever you want to, plug yourself, obviously, um,
Totally.
and and then we'll go from there. And yeah, anything else you wanted to discuss before we go to?
I have been inventing things for a very long time, and each time you do something and quote unquote fail, you learn a lot from it.
Mhm.
So for me to invent my vape and prop, I had to really know that it met all the needs, that it was easy to manufacture, novel, scalable, and adaptable. And I can show that this is my standard puzzle piece, and I put logos here as the imprint, and I can do QR codes on the bottom. It
Nice.
has two holders. You can see this is a slim all-in-one device. And then I have a cylinder here that is flexible to hold anything between 9 and 13 millimeters. You can see it can stay on, hit it, put it down, always in the perfect position for peak performance.
Right.
So it's such a wonderful, novel thing and great opportunity. So because I did teach myself 3D design, I can do custom designs. So you might want to have something that is exclusively your logo like this instead of just an imprint.
Heck
So I've
yeah.
got that. And then I had to accommodate, like I showed earlier on, how we have these holders for the joints. So for me to know that I can run this business like e-commerce and not have any overhead, and I'm really like a $300,000 investment away from doing a really well thought out social media marketing where we do, hey, collect and connect. If you go to 3 different dispensaries and you get your different promo merch and put them together and post, then we'll send you a completely original one. So if you want to
Oh, that's pretty cool.
use these individually or put your puzzle pieces
Uh,
together and create a storage and custom protection arsenal of all your different devices because of
you
this
had me with
flexibility.
Arsenal.
Yeah, and arsenal is not a great word. Um, you can use it for chillums and thermal blades and terp pens and your dab devices and things like that.
Yeah.
So I am just really tickled with the opportunity here to really offer something because you see a lot of swag and hats can be swag, but they aren't specific to the cannabis industry. So I feel like
Mhm.
that's another asset for the fun and function of my promotional merchandise is that it really does address and complement cannabis specific products. And we're talking about how hard it is to market with the prohibition on advertising and people have to be really creative. So I think promotional merchandise has to play a bigger role in the cannabis industry than some other industries because they aren't other industries are not restricted from standard advertising like we are. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for letting me totally plug my items because it's been a long road of trying to save people's lives and help the industry and trying
Mm.
to find a place where I fit. And I really appreciate all the stuff that you shared with me today because you and I are unique. Like
Mm.
we have our own original thinking and our own original ideas. And so we have to find our own special place in the industry where
Right.
we forge with our authenticity
Mhm.
so that we can come through and really end up getting the best opportunity specifically for us.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to, like, carve out a little piece, and it's not all cannabis, but, yeah, I wanna bring a little bit of my creative side into the world, and I'm glad that you are too, and its functionality, that's even better, because so many times I've had so many clogged different things or whatever. I like the way that connects and stuff. It's like I like that idea. I definitely need to get some stuff from you. Um, that's
For
pretty that's
sure.
that's pretty dope. Is there anything else you wanna talk about or shout out, before,
I didn't have anything else planned. There's got to be tons of people who I want to thank. Like, I really want to take a moment to say that because I'm a startup and I'm self funding,
Mhm.
that the community, it's Instagram that brought you and I together.
Right.
And I've had so many wonderful people who are out there trying to build their own business on Instagram and we cross collaborate and they create content and they share my posts. And, for everybody who's connected to me on Instagram, I just want to say thank you for supporting me and really helping me again to find a way so that I can eventually get hooked up with, not just anybody, but somebody who really can understand and give me that opening in their gate so that I can see this through to its full potential.
Heck yeah. I have some some dope things on the way myself. I'm kind of excited. So I really appreciate all the coming on here and sharing all that stuff with us. It's really dope. I love your point of view, and then also I love hearing the Midwest stuff a lot because I'm partially from there. I just haven't been back in a while fully to like be really living or anything. So I may even go back for maybe Christmas time or something this year. We'll see. Need to go back and check out Missouri again. But I want to thank you. Everyone go check out Vape and Prop. Was it on Instagram?
My handle on Instagram is Puff and Prop. They're touchy about even the word vape over there. So PUFF, the letter N, and PROP, Puff and Prop. You can find me on Instagram. And I also have my whimsical designs that are 3D printed on my website at vapeandprop.com.
Heck yeah, there's like a octopus and stuff that I was really interested in myself. I consider myself an octopus with all the things that I do. But yeah, we're gonna get onto that, and I have plenty of people that I know that are in promo and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm gonna be going to these networking things, and I'm gonna push your stuff there too.
Thank you so much. This is
Absolutely.
just it's the wind in my wings, because that negative self-talk will talk you right out of pursuing your dreams. You have one bad day, and then I meet people like you. Thank you so much, because
Mm-hmm.
I need your affirmation that I have got a good idea here.
Heck yeah. I'm relentless. There's so many times where even driving to do this podcast, I've had I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this. I'm doing that. And I just like get in the car, get the. I don't like. I'm like talking to a little kid myself. I'm like, will you get in the shut your mouth. I was
The
like,
coaxing.
and I'll be like, I'll get you like some Taco Bell or something later.
Whatever it takes. That is
And that's
absolutely
kind of my
beautiful. I really
routine.
think
That's kind of
out
my
of everything that
routine.
we've talked about, that's the most useful advice
Yeah.
that you have given, is like, hey, I coax myself. You should coax yourself too.
Oh, yeah. You should see me in the gym. I'll go to the gym. I'm like, I'm not running today, and then I'll lift, and then I'm like, you're running. Go run. Or I'm only gonna do these 2 exercises. Then I get those done, and I'm like, oh no, you're gonna do the rest. It's like I trick myself into doing so much shit because otherwise I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. And I love this, what you told about, you're like, I can focus on math or focus on cleaning. And I think that's a super huge sign of intelligence, because you have so much going on in your mind. You can literally like process 2 major things at the same time and be productive. So we sometimes they'll call that ADHD or whatever, but I consider this to be an advantage. That's an asset of yours.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Kirsten. This has been super dope. Shout out to Vape and Prop. I want to do a little shout out from some of the people that have supported me along the way. Shout out Liquid Karma and Blazing the Amazing, all of it smoked and gone. Happy 420. I want to shout out 420 Formula. If you're looking for something to like clean your stuff, they dropped some stuff on me, a bunch of different for oil, for just the original cleaner, all sorts of different things, smog out. They get, and then the plugs to go in the stuff and your pun and the shake, all the
So
fun
many
stuff.
accessories. They're so awesome.
So many. But again, thank you very much for sharing your story. Thank you all for watching, listening. This will end up on YouTube. All that stuff. We'll have reels and on Instagram, Spotify. But thank you again. I'll tap in. We'll get some stuff going and tap in, smoke up, trip out. Love you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With love and compassion, we'll find our way. From the battlefield to a brighter day. With love and compassion, we'll find